The chains in the jungle. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Darren moved slowly through the thick green vines, his boots sinking into the wet soil. The air smelled heavy, like old leaves, wet bark, and something else. Something strange. He held, his rifle low, eyes sharp, scanning the trees. He wasn't here for a fight. He just needed to find water and return to his camp. But then he heard it. A low growl. Not from an animal. Not from a machine. Something in between. He turned toward the sound and followed it. The trees opened into a small clearing. Sunlight broke through the thick canopy above, lighting the scene below. There, in the middle of the clearing, was a trap. Not a simple one. This was alien. Metal spikes, glowing wires, and strange energy lines circling it. And inside that trap was something even more shocking, a woman, or something like a woman. She was tall, much taller than Darren, with thick muscles, dark striped skin, sharp clawed hands, and long wild hair that flowed down her back like a black waterfall. Chains held her wrists and ankles. Fresh cuts ran along her arms. Her mouth was open, showing long, sharp teeth. She looked like a beast, but her eyes were full of pain. Darren froze. She growled again, low and warning. "Easy," he said quietly, raising his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't understand his words, but she watched him closely. Her breathing was fast, her arms trembling. She was weak, starving, and close to breaking. Darren stepped closer. The trap hissed. He studied the structure. It was built to hold something strong, like her. He knelt and checked the chains. Alien tech, but he'd seen similar locks before. Maybe, just maybe. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a small tool. "I'll get you out," he whispered. She growled again, this time softer. Her claws flexed. Her tail twitched behind her. Click. The first shackle opened. Her eyes widened. Click. The second shackle fell. She looked confused now, as if she couldn't believe what was happening. "Just hold on," Darren said, wiping sweat from his brow. The last lock was tougher. Behind him, the jungle rustled. He worked faster. Finally. Click. The last lock opened. The moment she was free, she leapt up. Darren jumped back, raising his rifle in panic, but she didn't attack. She stood there, chest rising and falling, staring at him. And then, to his shock, she fell to her knees. Bowed, her head placed one clawed fist over her heart. Darren lowered his rifle slowly. "What? What are you doing?" he asked. She looked up at him. Her voice was low, rough, but filled with something powerful. "Alpha," she said. One word, but it hit him hard. No, he said, stepping back. "I'm just helping, that's all." She stood, walked toward him. Darren didn't move. She placed her clawed hand gently over his chest, right where his heart beat fast. "Alpha," she whispered again. And then she turned, limped past him, into the jungle. He watched her go, confused. But before she vanished into the trees, she looked back once. Her eyes glowed golden in the shadows. She had chosen him. Darren didn't know it yet, but his life had just changed forever, and the Beastwoman was not done with him. Not even close. The mark of the huntress. Darren didn't sleep. That night, he sat near his campfire, his rifle close, eyes on the jungle. Every crack of a branch, every whisper of leaves made his heart beat faster. She was still out there, the Beastwoman. He didn't know her name or what species she belonged to, but her image burned in his mind, her strength, her wounds, and that strange word she spoke before vanishing. Alpha. What did it mean to her? He had freed her, yes. But that didn't explain the look in her eyes, the way she knelt, the way she touched his chest. It wasn't thanks. It was something else. Something older, deeper. The fire crackled low. He tried to push the thoughts away and sleep, but his instincts screamed. Something was watching him. He looked up. She was there, standing at the edge of the firelight, silent, like a shadow made of muscle and moonlight. Darren jumped to his feet, grabbing his rifle. She didn't flinch. Her body was still covered in dirt and blood, but her wounds were healing fast. Her golden eyes locked on his. Then, slowly, she stepped forward, into the light. In her arms, she held something. Meat. A fresh kill. She dropped it by the fire and knelt again, head low, chest heaving. Darren lowered his weapon, confused. You hunted for me? She didn't answer. But she took a bone knife from her belt and began to clean the meat with fast, expert movements. He sat back down, unsure what to do. She worked in silence, then placed a piece of cooked meat in front of him. He hesitated. She watched him closely. When he took a bite, she gave a satisfied nod. Then she did something strange. She leaned forward, clawed finger glowing with faint blue light. Before he could react, she pressed it to his neck, just below the ear, a sharp sting. What the hell? He pulled back, hand on his neck, but the pain faded quickly. In its place, warmth. He touched the spot. Something was there. Like a brand, but not burned, glowing under his skin. He looked at her in shock. What did you do? She placed her claw over her own neck, the same spot, and spoke softly. Bond. He didn't understand, but she seemed satisfied. Then, without a word, she lay down by the fire, back turned to him. Darren stayed awake long into the night. The mark on his neck pulsed gently, like it was alive. The next morning, she was gone. Darren searched the area, but found no sign of her. Still, the food she gave him kept him strong. He spent the day repairing equipment and checking his comms and no signal. This planet was far from any trade route. He was still alone. Or so he thought. That evening she returned. This time she brought fruit and herbs for his leg wound. He watched her from the corner of his eye. She wasn't just helping, she was watching him too, measuring him, learning, and he realized something important. She was choosing to stay. Not because she was weak or owed him, because she had made a decision. She had claimed him, but why? On the third night, everything changed. They sat by the fire again. She spoke a few words in her strange language. He replied with broken English. Slowly, they began to understand each other, through looks, gestures, and tone. He asked her, name. She tapped her chest. Varka. He nodded. I'm Darren. She repeated his name slowly, as if testing it. Then she stood, walked to him. He stood too. They were close now. Her eyes looked up at him. There was heat in them. Not like love, more like fire. Power. Need. She placed both hands on his chest. Then she leaned in and growled something in her language, low and fierce. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was warning him. What? He asked softly. She pointed to the trees. My kind. Near. He froze. They will see the mark, she said. Her English was broken, but clear. They will not like. They will test. They will kill. Kill me? He asked. She nodded. What about you? She hesitated, then said, I fight. Darren's blood ran cold. You'll fight your own people. For me? She looked at him. Then for the first time she smiled. Not a human smile. A beast's smile, sharp teeth. Proud eyes. You are mine, she said. And then she turned back, to the jungle, her ears twitching, her body tense. Something was coming. Darren knew deep inside. This was only the beginning. And whatever bond she had made with him, it would be tested by blood. Her kind is coming. Darren didn't sleep that night. Varka crouched near the edge of the camp, her eyes locked on the darkness beyond the trees. She hadn't moved for hours. Her muscles were still, but her tail twitched slightly, her claws half drawn. Something hunted them. But it wasn't just a beast. It was her people. Darren sat near the dying fire, rubbing the strange mark on his neck. It still glowed faintly under his skin. Whatever Varka had done, it was more than just a symbol. He could feel it now, a pulse like a second heartbeat deeper inside him. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing. It had made him hers, and that was a problem. He whispered to her, "Can we run?" Varka didn't look back. She only shook her head. "Too late," she said softly. "They already smell you." A chill passed through his body. "What will they do if they find me? If you are weak, they kill. And if I fight, they still kill." He let out a breath. "That's not very hopeful." Varka's eyes flicked to him. "They kill, but I don't let them. And what if they try to kill you too?" This time she didn't answer. Hours passed. Then it came. A distant howl. High, guttural, not human at all. It echoed through the jungle like a war horn. Varka stood up. "They call me." "Then go," Darren said quickly. "Leave me. Maybe they'll spare you." Her eyes narrowed. "No, I stay." "Varka, this isn't your fight," she growled and stepped close. "You broke the trap. You gave me freedom. And now you wear my mark." Darren hesitated. "They will come," she said. "I must stand with you, or I lose myself." They moved together. Varka led him away from the camp, through the trees, across a rocky ridge and into a narrow valley hidden beneath heavy vines. "Why here?" Darren whispered. "No wind here. No scent trail. We fight where we choose." They waited in silence, and then the shadows moved. Figures stepped into the valley. Tall, armored in bones and metal, claws ready, 6 of them, all beast kind, all from Varka's tribe. They looked like her, but older, more scarred, more wild. One of them, a massive male with silver fur and jagged armor, stepped forward. His eyes landed on Darren. A deep growl rumbled from his throat. "You bring the prey to us, Varka," he asked in their tongue. Darren didn't understand, but Varka's body stiffened. "He is not prey," she answered. "He is mine," the others snarled. "A human?" The silver beast laughed. "You fall so far? From warrior to pet?" Varka growled and raised her blade. The male drew his axe. "You know the law," he said. "No outsider may carry the mark. Only one way to fix that." He pointed at Darren. His blood must fall. Darren stepped back. Varka blocked him, teeth bared. "I challenge," she said. "Trial of claws. You touch him, you touch me." Silence. Then the other beasts howled in excitement. The challenge had been given. The male nodded. "So be it." They cleared a circle. Darren stood outside, heart pounding. Varka and the silver beast faced each other. No words. No mercy. Then it began. They clashed like thunder, metal against bone, claws against fury. Varka moved fast, dancing between the bigger male's strikes, but he was strong, brutal. He slammed her into the ground, tearing at her arm. Darren shouted her name. She rose again, bleeding, snarling, and attacked. She moved low, struck fast and slashed the male's leg. He roared and swung wide and missing by inches. She used his weight against him, flipping over his back and landing behind him. Then she drove her claws deep into his spine. The silver beast fell. The others stood silent. Varka stepped back, chest heaving. "He is mine," she growled. "He wears my mark. Challenge me again, and die." The others looked at each other, then knelt, not to Darren, down to her. Afterward, Varka limped back to him. Her arm bled, her side bruised, but her eyes were calm. "They accept," she said. "You live." Darren helped her sit. "You nearly died." "Worth it," she whispered. "Now they fear you too." He looked around at the silent beast warriors fading into the jungle. "So, what happens now?" She smiled faintly. "Now, you learn what it means to be chosen." The sacred bond, the sun didn't rise that morning. The sky was covered in thick gray clouds, casting a deep shadow over the jungle floor. It felt like the planet itself was holding its breath. Darren walked beside Varka, silent. Her wound was deep, but she didn't complain. She barely even slowed down. The others, the 5 beastkin who had witnessed the trial, walked behind them at a distance. They didn't speak to him. They didn't look at him, but he felt their eyes. He was not one of them. But he was something else now. Marked. Claimed. And they had seen Varka defeat their strongest warrior to protect him. Still, the silence was heavy. He didn't trust it. "Where are we going?" he asked her quietly. "To the heart," she replied. "What's the heart?" "What's the bond must be sealed in front of the elders. They must see." "See what?" "That you are mine." They reached a clearing surrounded by giant red stones. The trees here were twisted, black roots reaching up like claws. In the center stood a tall, jagged spire made of bone and crystal. This place felt old. Older than her people. Older than anything human. Varka stepped forward and knelt before the spire. The others did the same. Darren hesitated, then followed. A low hum came from beneath the ground. A soft wind circled them, though the air was still. His skin prickled. Then, movement. From the base of the spire, 3 figures stepped out. They wore long cloaks made from beast hides and feathered armor. Their faces were hidden, but their presence was heavy like stone. These were the elders. The one in the center spoke in the beast tongue. Varka answered quickly, her voice strong despite the blood on her arm. She pointed to Darren, then touched the glowing mark on his neck. The elder stepped forward and looked at Darren. Then, to his shock, the elder spoke in rough, broken English. "You accept her?" Darren looked at Varka. She was breathing hard, her body tense, but her eyes held his. Waiting. "I don't understand what this means," Darren said. "This bond, this mark. I didn't choose it." Varka flinched. The elder growled. "You'd reject?" Darren shook his head. "No, I didn't say that. I need to know what it means." The elder turned to Varka and asked something. Varka stood and stepped forward. She held out her arm and slashed her palm with a claw. Blood ran down her skin. Then she took Darren's hand, turned it over, and waited. "What is this?" he asked. "Life," she whispered. "If you bleed with me, we share. Forever." "Share what?" "Instinct. Pain. Breath. If one dies, the other feels it." Darren stared at her. This wasn't just some tribal ritual. It was something real. The mark on his neck burned slightly as if reacting to her blood. "What happens if I refuse?" "Then the bond breaks," she said, "and I lose honor. You return to your kind. Alone." He thought about that. He could go home. Back to the ship. Back to silence. But Varka had bled for him, fought for him, chosen him. And when she looked at him now, she didn't look like a beast. She looked like a warrior waiting to be seen. He drew his blade and cut his palm. Their blood touched. The wind howled. The spire glowed. And pain exploded in his chest. He fell to his knees. His skin burned. His bones shook. The mark on his neck flared bright gold, then vanished beneath his skin. Images flashed in his mind. Her memories, her rage, her loneliness, her pride. He saw her chained, starving. He felt her fear when he freed her, then her hope. It wasn't just a mark. It was a joining. His blood and hers were now one. He gasped as it ended. Varka stood over him, her eyes full of something he had never seen before. Not dominance, not power, but belonging. Later, as they sat under the fading sky, she leaned against him. "You feel it now," she whispered. He nodded. "Yes, I feel you." She looked up. "Then you are ready." "Ready for what?" Her voice dropped. "My kind test loyalty, always. Someone will challenge the bond. And they will try to kill you. To break me." "Who?" "The one who hates humans most. My blood brother. Born in the same nest. What does he want? She looked into the dark trees. He wants to break the bond and take me back. Darren felt the weight of the world press down on his chest. This wasn't a love story. It was a war story, and it had only just begun. Trial of the wild. The jungle was quiet again, but this time Darren knew the silence didn't mean safety. It meant something was coming. He stood near the river, washing the blood from his palm where the bond had been sealed. The mark was gone now, not vanished but buried deeper under skin and soul. He felt it like a second heartbeat. Varka's presence lived inside him. Her breath echoed in his chest. Her pain was his. But there was no time to understand it, because someone else had heard of the bond and that someone wanted him dead. Varka found him before the sun rose. Her face was grim, her arm still bruised from the last fight. He comes today, she said. Darren already knew who she meant. Her brother. How bad is he? Darren asked. Varka didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, when we were cubs, he killed a rival's son in his sleep, just for looking at me too long. And now he knows about me? He will do worse. Why would he care who you bond with? She looked up at him, eyes burning. Because I am the last female of our bloodline. If I bond with a weak mate, our clan loses status. He loses power. To him, you are shame. So he wants to erase me. Yes, and me too. If I don't fight beside him. The tribe gathered in the stone ring called the Wild Cradle, a place where blood was spilled and honor was proven. The air was thick with tension. Beastkin from far outposts had returned. Elders stood along the edges. No one spoke. Darren stood. In the middle, alone. The rules were simple. Survive the trial. But no one explained what that meant. Varka tried to stand beside him, but the elders stopped her. He must face the trial alone, they said. If she interferes, she dies. Varka growled in fury. He is marked. Bonded. Then let the bond keep him alive, one elder replied coldly. A horn blew, and the ground opened. From below, a gate rose, and from it came Varka's brother. He was massive, twice Varka's size. His fur was dark red, his claws like daggers. His armor was made from skulls and black steel. His eyes were pure rage. This is what you chose, he shouted, voice echoing. This soft, skinless thing? This prey? Darren didn't reply. He didn't need to. Because something inside him had changed. He didn't just feel fear anymore. He felt Varka. And through her, he felt strength. The beast charged. The first strike was like thunder. Darren dove, rolled, and scrambled to his feet. The claw barely missed his neck. He aimed a small plasma blade and struck the beast's shoulder, a shallow wound. The brother laughed. This will be easy. But Darren didn't care about winning. He just had to survive. The fight went on. Claws tearing through earth, blade flashing through air. Darren used his speed, his mind. He led the beast into a trap. Vines tangled around his legs. A sharp branch stabbed his side. But the beast tore free, roaring. He caught Darren by the leg and threw him across the ring. Darren hit the ground hard, coughing blood, his vision blurred. The beast charged again. Then, something happened. The mark on his neck flared, and Varka screamed. Her cry echoed in his skull. Not with words, but with rage, with memory. She showed him her fight, her movements, her fury. Darren rolled just as the claws came down, and for the first time he moved like her, fast, feral, alive. He ducked low, slashed at the beast's knees, and kicked upward. The blade hit the creature's throat. A deep gash opened. The brother roared in pain and fell back, blood pouring. Darren stood, shaking. The beast still breathed, but barely. The elders stepped in. Enough. Varka ran to him, her claws pressed to his face. You lived, she whispered. He smiled, barely standing. Wasn't planning on dying. The tribe watched in silence. Then, slowly, One elder stepped forward and knelt. The human passed. The trial. The bond is true. Others followed. Darren looked around, dizzy, not from blood loss, but from what this meant. He wasn't prey anymore. He was one of them. And the tribe would never forget the day the soft-skinned outsider spilled royal blood and stood tall, not just as a survivor, but as Varka's true mate. The choice night fell like a shroud over the jungle, but no one celebrated. No songs, no fire, no victory roars. Varka sat beside Darren as he lay on a bed of moss, bruised and barely breathing. She had cleaned his wounds, wrapped his ribs, and watched him through the long, silent hours. His breath was weak, but steady. His spirit, though battered, had not broken. He had survived the trial, but the price had just begun. The elders gathered under the bone spire at dawn. The blood of Varka's brother still stained the sacred ring. No one had moved the body. They left it there, as a reminder, and as judgment. Darren had passed the trial of the wild, but he had also killed a blood heir. And that made Varka a threat to the line. Darren woke slowly. His first sight was her face, not soft, not smiling, but fierce and protective, like a wolf guarding her den. "What happened?" he asked, voice hoarse. "You lived," she said simply. He tried to sit up, winced and fell back. "What's wrong?" "The elders speak now. They decide." "Decide what? If we stay or die?" His chest tightened. "I passed the trial." "Yes, but they did not expect you to. They thought you would die. They thought I would mourn and submit. And now? Now. They fear us." The elders summoned her alone. She stood before them, surrounded by ancient stone and watchful eyes. "You broke bloodline," one said. "I protected my bond," Varka replied. "You shamed your kin. I honored the laws. You chose a human. I chose strength," the elders whispered among themselves. Then came the final words. "You may keep your mate, but you lose your name." Varka's eyes did not flinch. "And if I refuse, then he dies." Silence. A long breath. Then Varka dropped to one knee, claws clenched. "I give up my name," she said, "but I will not give up him." They exiled her, not by chains, not by blade, but by silence. None of the tribe looked at her as she passed, not even the young ones who once watched her train. She walked through the center of the village, her head high, shoulders squared, but inside. Darren felt it through the bond, her pain, deep and sharp. He stood weak and swaying, waiting for her. When their eyes met, she looked almost ashamed. "What did they say?" he asked. "They said I could keep you, but not my blood." He blinked. "You mean you're no longer part of the tribe? They erased me." "I'm sorry, Varka." "Don't be," she said, trying to smile. "You're worth more than a name." They left the valley together. No one stopped them, but the jungle felt different now, thicker, colder, watching them with unseen eyes. "Where do we go now?" Darren asked as they reached a ridge. "Far," she said, "beyond the old lands. There are clans that do not follow the old laws. They might welcome us. And if they don't," she grinned, "then we remind them why they should fear a human and a beast together." But their journey was not peaceful. A day into the deep forest, they were ambushed, not by her people, but by outsiders, mercenaries. They wore gray armor and used human weapons, plasma rifles, thermal nets. They didn't speak the beastkin language, but Darren understood enough. "That's him," one of them said. "The marked one. They'll pay double for the body." "What about the creature? Dead or alive?" "Doesn't matter." Varka roared and lunged into battle without hesitation. Darren fired from behind a broken tree, picking off two of them before they could react. The air was filled with smoke, shouts, and burning leaves. A net slammed into Varka, but she tore through it with bloody claws. "They're not tribes," she shouted. "They're hunters." "How do they know about us?" Darren asked. Then he saw it. One of the mercs had a tribal mark, the same as Varka's old clan, carved into a bone necklace. His stomach turned. Her exile hadn't been clean. They had betrayed her, sold her location. They wanted her gone for good. The battle ended in fire. Varka stood over the last mercenary, her blade at his throat. He gasped, "You don't belong anywhere now." She snarled, "Wrong." She looked at Darren. "We belong together." They burned the mercenary camp, gathered supplies, rested under the stars. Darren looked up at her, eyes heavy with pain and worry. "You gave up everything for me." She looked down. "No," she said. "I found something greater." "What?" "Oh, future." But deep in the shadows far behind them, another hunter watched, not a mercenary, not a beast, but something worse. And it carried orders from a power that neither human nor Beastwoman had ever seen before. They had walked into a deeper, game one that would soon shake the galaxy. Her alpha. They thought the worst was over. But the fire they had escaped was only the beginning. For 3 nights, Darren and Varka moved deeper into the forgotten jungles, far beyond any known maps. The air grew colder and the plants stranger. Glowing roots, flowers that hummed, trees that bled a soft silver when cut. These were not places of Varka's kind. These were ancient lands, untouched by tribe or tech. And something was watching them. "We're being followed," Darren said quietly, eyes scanning the tree line. Varka didn't answer, but he saw her claws slide free. She felt it too. They set camp high on a cliff, where they could see all around. Varka took first watch. She crouched like a statue, eyes glowing in the dark. Her muscles were tense, breath silent. But even she didn't see the hunter approach. Not until it stood in their firelight. It wasn't beastkin. It wasn't human. Its armor was black and smooth, like melted stone. Its eyes were cold, pale orbs, and its voice was like static wrapped in steel. "Subject Alpha acquired," it said. Darren froze. "What did you call me?" "Subject Alpha. Human carrier of unique hybrid bond. Primary threat level." Varka stood in front of him. "Who sent? You?" The hunter turned to her. "You are irrelevant. Step aside." She didn't move. So it fired. A beam of pure energy hit her shoulder and sent her flying into the rocks. She roared in pain but rolled back to her feet, bleeding, eyes blazing. Darren's heart pounded. He lifted his weapon. But the hunter moved. Faster. In seconds it was on him, slamming him into the ground. "Subject confirmed," it said. "Terminate to neutralize bond." As its blade rose, the mark on Darren's neck flared. Gold light. And something ancient awakened inside him. His hand shot up and caught the hunter's wrist. Its blade stopped in midair. The hunter tilted its head. Unexpected resistance. Darren's eyes burned golden. "You want to see what a human bonded with a beast really is?" he growled. Then he roared. Not a human sound, but something Varka had taught him. Something wild, and he fought back. The battle shook the forest. Varka joined him, even injured. Side by side they moved as one, their claws and blade, instinct and precision. Every time the hunter struck, they dodged together. Every time it fell back, they pressed forward. They weren't two beings anymore. They were one bond. In the end, it was Varka who delivered the final strike. She leapt onto the hunter's back, tore open its chest plate, and ripped the core free with a scream of fury and love. The hunter spasmed, then collapsed. Darren knelt in the dirt, breathing hard. "What was that thing?" Varka dropped the core, panting. "Not from my world, not from yours either." He looked up. "They called me Subject Alpha. What does that mean?" Varka looked away. "The bond. It is not just tradition," she said. "It's ancient. It came from before my kind remembered names. Your blood and mine joined like this. It creates something new. They're afraid of it. Yes, because they cannot control it." Darren stared at the shattered pieces of the hunter. "So they'll send more." Varka nodded. "Many more." "What do we do?" She placed a hand on his heart. "We fight. And we lead." "Lead?" My people exiled me. But they still watch, still whisper. If they see us survive this, they will follow. He blinked. You want to go back? Not as exiles. She stood tall, eyes glowing. As leaders. The next day they returned to the tribal lands. No guard stopped them. No elders spoke. But the tribe gathered. They saw Varka with blood on her arms and scars that told a story. They saw Darren, marked, changed, no longer soft-skinned prey, but something new, something dangerous, something bonded. The elders stepped forward. Why return? One asked. Varka pointed to the hunter's broken core. This followed us. More will come. What do you want? She didn't answer. Darren did. We want you to stand with us, he said. Not because of old names, but because your survival now depends on it. Silence followed, then one elder knelt. What are you now? The elder asked. Varka looked to Darren. He placed a hand on her shoulder and answered softly. I am her alpha, and she is mine. They were no longer outcasts, no longer hunted. They were the first of a new bloodline, human and beast, bonded by trust, scarred by war, and ready for what the galaxy would throw next. The fire they started would not go out, and the stars would soon learn what happened when a beast woman gave her heart to a human who refused to die.